Welcome back to the Gen 20 podcast. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Marina. Today we're speaking with Eliana Goldstein, Millennial Success Coach, about how to build a confident career mindset, wired for success, and manage that imposter syndrome. Eliana, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about how you became a Millennial Success Coach?
Yes, I would be happy to. And thank you guys again for having me. I'm really excited to be speaking with both of you about a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. So prior to becoming a coach, I worked in the corporate world like so many of us do, kind of the typical 9 to 5. I was very fortunate. I got a job like right out of college. I started off working at a small startup as a marketing coordinator and kind of like slowly climbed the ranks, made a number of pivots. I ended up moving in to sales and really like grew in my sales career, and was in a place where I kind of had checked the boxes in the sense that I was doing what I had always aspired to be doing. I was making good money from a young age and felt like I had really kind of succeeded for myself. But while everything on paper was what I was hoping for, behind all of that, I felt really unhappy. I was really disconnected from what I was doing on a daily basis. I felt so much anxiety about work. I had, the very, very typical Sunday scaries and dread about Monday, and just really, really wasn't happy with what I was doing. But I think that for so long, I had always been programmed and told that you're not really supposed to like your job. A job is a job. It's where you go to get paid. That I kind of ignored those feelings and just kept pushing through for a really long time. And I know so many people, experience that and feel that way. And it really just reached a point where I just felt I can't do this anymore. Even if this is what even if you're supposed to not like your job, this isn't for me. I want to change. And I kind of at that point delved into the world of personal development and kind of like a self-development junkie. One of my friends introduced me to this like intensive 30-hour seminar, which was kind of my first foray into the world. And that was really kind of got me thinking and my wheels turning around what I had really defined as success, what I really wanted for myself, what I was really good at, what I actually enjoyed doing. And through all of that, I kind of discovered the world of coaching and really realized that it hit on so much of what I loved and what I was engaged with and what I was good at. And, just dove into that. I started building out coaching as a side hustle while I was still working the 9 to 5, until eventually it grew and I felt like it was time to leave. And I've been doing, coaching now for over 2 years full time.
And now a word from our sponsor. Do you ever feel like you're stuck on the island of misfit careers? Like everyone around you seems to have their career together, but here you are in a soul-sucking job for what feels like the 100th time. Why is it so hard to find work that makes you happy? My friend, you are not alone in feeling this way. Let me introduce you to Serena and Get Me Out of This Job. Get Me Out of This Job is a career coaching program that helps you find confidence and clarity in the next steps of your career. Serena helps you build a career around your life instead of feeling like you have to build your life around your career. No more diving into jobs that aren't the right fit for you anymore. No more living on the Isle of Misfit Careers. And the best part? Mention Gen 20 and get 10% off your coaching package. Head to getmeoutofthisjob.co to learn more or follow her on Instagram at getmeoutofthisjob.
I am a millennial success coach, but within that, I really focus on careers for millennials and individuals in their 20s and 30s, really helping them understand like what does a fulfilling and a successful career look like for me, and what do I ultimately do, what is the action plan I need to create to really get there, so I don't live with those Sunday scaries with that Monday morning dread. So that's a little bit of my story and what I do, and I honestly just feel very honored and grateful to do this work. I really, really love it.
Yeah, I think it's amazing and so impactful in changing lives, because people like we've experienced it ourselves, I think, and hear it a lot where people really struggle to really figure out what it is they want to do, like where their strengths are and how to apply all of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's not easy. And most people don't know how to do it, which is why they keep finding themselves back in careers that they really just don't enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting you were talking about how common it is to just think you're not supposed to like your job, because I know when I lived in New York, I was in the same boat. I worked at a startup. I really liked parts of aspects of it and I was good at some of it, but I was really unhappy. And all of my like support system was saying like, well, like you got to build happiness outside of your job. And the Sunday scaries were brutal. And I would just live for the weekend. And that I woke up one day and I was just like, I'm going to do this for 40 years and then I'm going to die. This is terrible.
Exactly.
So I think so much has changed in the career landscape too for millennials that
Mhm.
the advice we get from our parents and the older generations isn't as current. Um, but it's hard to have that confidence because we're measuring our success on other people's parameters.
Mhm.
So, Eliana, can you talk a little bit about what even a confident career mindset is and can look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, you're hitting on so many important things, Marina, in the sense that, it's true. The reason that success becomes so convoluted for us is because most of us are living in the definition of success that other people have. And, when you talk about confident career mindset and really embarking on what feels good and natural for you, one of the first things that you really need to do is define what success looks like for you. And the almost normal instinct with that is to kind of just regurgitate what's always been told for you. And when I work with clients or when I speak with individuals and especially women, I really try to nail down and say, okay, well, where does that definition come from? And do you truly feel connected to that? And I like to do like a little game of doing word association, almost saying, okay, when I say success, what immediately pops into your mind? And a lot of people say, money and great title and all these kind of classic definitions. And then I say, okay, and what pops into your mind when I say happiness and fulfillment? And like this entire other sense of vocabulary will pop up.
Mm.
And then I say, kind of look at those two things, look at the associations you have with success and like what you have with fulfillment and happiness. And how do you kind of rectify those two things? Are you okay with those being two separate things? So I think when you talk about, success in your career and confident career mindset, it first and foremost is about really defining it for yourself and what that looks like for you specifically. um and also, like, there's so many different ways to really embark on that topic, but beyond just success, there's also the notion that I talk a lot about of, the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. And a lot of us kind of fall into victimhood in our careers. This is just what I'm meant for, and I'm just going to kind of do what's told of me and what's handed to me. But true confidence in our careers is kind of, taking the direction into our own hands and doing what it is that we want for ourselves. And one of the ways that we do that is really by embodying the idea that we always have the ability to grow and to learn and to develop. And if we don't have a certain skill set, that doesn't mean that, okay, I can never do that. That's never going to work for me. We can always grow into that person. We can develop the skills that we need. So those are just, a couple things. There's so many different things in that topic, but I think really defining what success means to you first and foremost and being able to embody that growth mindset is really important.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely like throughout your career, I think there's like a lot of people, we touched on it a little bit earlier, they kind of experience imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
especially like because like what they're saying that their version of success is and what they really want and like their fulfillment, like I think it also plays in together because it's just not aligned.
Yep.
So how often in your coaching do you come across like imposter syndrome, and like how does developing a confident career mindset help you manage that?
I mean, I would say I don't think there's ever been a client or person that I've worked with or spoken with where imposter syndrome hasn't come up. I think it
Mhm.
impacts every individual out there, no matter what level of success you're at. And it's a matter of like I think it's really important to have acceptance around your imposter, to know that it's never going to fully go away, because your imposter is virtually, what's keeping you protected. It's okay, something going on here that I don't really feel comfortable with, that, I'm going to feel like a fraud. I'm going to feel like a failure. This might not work out. People are going to find me out. And virtually that voice comes up because it's trying to keep you safe and protected. And as humans, we come up against challenges and things outside of our comfort zone. And our innate reaction is to want to kind of, stay in our box and stay safe and feel protected. So we've got to remember that it's always going to be there, and that's okay, but it's just a matter of how you manage it. And when it comes to confident career mindset, it's so important because the more confident you are in yourself, the better that you can manage your imposter, and the better you can almost see your imposter as almost like an alter ego. It's that separate version of yourself that's coming out to protect you, but you can kind of embody that confident version of yourself and say, no, I got this. Like, I see you, I hear you, I understand that you're trying to protect me, but I'm not going to buy into those thoughts right now, into those beliefs. I know what I'm doing. I've proven it time and time again that I can do this, and I'm going to keep moving forward. So if you can embody that confident version of yourself, you can keep moving through the blocks that the imposter kind of tries to throw at you.
That's really great advice. I struggle a lot with imposter syndrome because I'm a writer. I'm trying to finish a novel and get published, but I also coach other writers. And so
Mm,
my imposter syndrome is constantly saying, "Oh, you're not truly published yet. You can't
mhm.
really give this advice." And I have to like take a step back and say, "Okay, I see you. Those are valid fears and thoughts,
Yeah,
but we're not going to operate on those. We're going to operate on the 10 years of experience I have in writing and my skills." And it's just like a daily journal, a daily battle where I'm, trying to leave the like embrace that confidence and kind of leave the imposter behind.
exactly. And I think you're handling it beautifully and just like saying, I'm not going to buy into that narrative. And I think too, that's why I say, like, I think acceptance is really important because I'm a big believer that the more you resist, like, the more you resist, the more it persists, right? So, like, the more I'm like, no, 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 imposter syndrome, go away. I want you to disappear. Like, the more you're almost giving it power and control in your life versus saying, I know this is normal to have these fears, to have these thoughts, but I'm not going to let it direct me, and it just kind of becomes like a part of you that's there, that comes up from time to time, but it doesn't like completely throw you off board when it comes up because you know how to manage it in those moments. So it's like the pinprick as opposed to like the stab in your chest that comes
Hmm.
up for you.
Yeah, and I wonder too if the way like the millennials have been raised between the like boomer generation as parents or
Mhm.
whichever generation raised the millennials depending on what scale you fall on, but between who raised us and our constant social media highlight feed with all that comparison, I wonder if that really feeds into the narrative of success and that imposter syndrome. So Eliana, can you talk about the high rate of imposter syndrome and like why our generation might experience it at such a young age too?
Yeah. I mean, I think exactly what you were saying. It's a product of our parents, and it goes back to that definition of success and what we're taught success is and what we should be doing to achieve that success. And then when it's not happening, feeling, like a fraud or like an imposter around it. But I think the biggest culprit is definitely social media. When you're constantly bombarded with other people's lives and what they're doing and how successful they are and how easy they're making it seem, right? Because social media only tells one story. We think like, oh my God, that person's succeeding so well. Like, it's so easy for them. Who am I to think that I can have this opportunity, right? Like, I'm not that person. I don't have their skill set. They've done all these things. I haven't done those things. I can't go for that. So we're just like caught in this endless cycle of comparison. And it just make when you're constantly living in someone else's lane and not like focus on yourself and what's important to you, you're always going to feel less than, and you're always going to feel that kind of sense of fraud, which is what imposter syndrome really is. So I think it's a huge part of why it's so prevalent among our generation. And like I said before, it's still human nature. Like, even if social media wasn't there, it would still exist. But I think that because of the atmosphere that we're living in and that we're growing up in, it's just so much more pervasive. And like I said, like, I forget the statistics around it. Like, you'll see 7 out of 10 people experience imposter syndrome, and I always say that's BS. Every person
Mm-hmm.
experiences imposter
It's like 10
syndrome.
out of 10.
Exactly, it's 10 out of 10. It's you never have a conversation with someone doesn't experience that to a degree. But I think social media is a massive sort of culprit of all of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I think like having just all this stuff bombarded at you constantly, just it really like warps your like perception
Mm-hmm.
of how easy and hard some things are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like that is something I was just thinking about as you were talking, is that like success, however we are defining it for ourselves, is it's sometimes easier than we expect it to be
Mm-hmm.
and harder in other ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um because like as Marina was talking about her like writing her novel and stuff, like I am a published author, and it's actually way easier than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had sort of a strange journey to that. But we also interviewed Dr. Meg J about the defining decade. And I think so much about how she got her book published. Because she told us the story. And it was essentially that the editor of this like other publishing company had mistakenly sent her a box of books.
Mm-hmm.
And so she emailed her and she was like, "Hey, I got this box that wasn't meant for me." And she was like, "Oh, don't worry about it, just keep it." And she was like, okay, thank you. That's really nice of you, blah, blah, blah. And then I get a few years, months later, when she had the idea for her book, she didn't know anyone in publishing. And all she did was email that lady that she had like one touch point with, who put her in like contact with other people. And like, I just think of like how simple that is,
Mm-hmm.
right? And but that takes like something like that to me seems like it takes a lot of confidence to do. Like I would never just email someone like that. But like why not? So like my point of getting to this story is I think it takes a lot of confidence, and as you were talking earlier, I wrote down that I wanted to ask you like how can we develop confidence in our careers? Like where do we start with that?
Yeah. So I love that story. I think it really does, like you were saying, shows the simplicity of situations and the fact that we most often overcomplicate things.
Mhm.
And because and it all roots back to confidence, right? Like why do we overcomplicate it? Generally because we're nervous about it, or there's a fear of failure around it, and we just don't have the
Mhm.
confidence to pursue it and say, hey, whatever happens, happens. So when it comes to building confidence in ourselves, I think there are tactics like especially with it, I do this with imposter syndrome too. Like I always tell my clients, I want you to have like a brag list, right? So like having a note in your phone of different things that you can just record from time to time, like something that happened at work that you're proud of, an interaction you had with a friend that you're proud of, whatever it might be. It's like the big wins and the small wins, really like honing in on those and focusing on those. And the reason that we do that is twofold. First and foremost, like we tend to really dwell on the negativity and the negative things that happen in our lives and what doesn't work out well. But we don't have any sort of focus on what does work out well. So when it comes to those moments and opportunities of needing to channel that confidence, we don't really have that confidence to channel because we just like overlook all the great things that we've been doing and we dwell on the negative. So, first and foremost, if we can start training our brain around recognizing the small wins and the things that make us feel more confident, we'll be able to step into a more confident version of ourselves. And then we also have this notepad so that when things do come up for us and, we're like, oh, I'm feeling really nervous. Can I pursue this opportunity? Can I do this? We can pull up that notepad and say, oh, look at all these times that I was able to, do something really awesome, that I took a risk and an opportunity and it worked out for me. So it's the retraining of our brains, but it's also, the tangible effect of being able to see that written on paper. And then when it also comes to building confidence, and this is like anything, a lot of the times it's like it's not the easiest answer, but it's we have to do things that push ourselves out of our comfort zones. Like that is when it comes to embodying a different version of ourselves, it's about retraining the pathways of our brain. So I always tell my clients, I'm like, how many years have you been on earth? You're 28 years old. You have 28 years of programming all around like diminishing your confidence, and if I do this it's not going to work out, and I'm going to fail and all these things, and it's just like it completely just like puts you down on everything that you have for yourself. And what are the ways that you retrain those pathways? You virtually have to like throw a wrench in those pathways to redirect them, and the way that you throw those wrenches is by doing things that are outside of your comfort zone. So it means like doing something that you're nervous isn't going to work out and that you're not going to be confident in, but then you do it, you throw that wrench in it and you actually see that it works out. And then there's like a new pathway being built, like, hey, when I did this it actually worked out. Hey, I'm a little bit more confident in myself. And then you keep doing that until those pathways kind of get reestablished. So yes, there are the tangibles of like writing the accomplishments down and all of that, and that makes a big difference. But it's also like making an active effort and saying to yourself, hey, I'm going to do something different that I haven't done before now. And it's going to be really hard the first time that I do it. But every single time I do it after this, it's going to get easier and I'm going to build confidence with that. So I think it's really a combination of all those things.
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually shared a post on Gen 20's Instagram yesterday, which when people are hearing this will be months ago. But I said that confidence is not a personality trait,
Mm-hmm.
and that it takes practice, and that it's something that you have to do over and over and over again. And like you're saying, to really actually retrain those like physical pathways in
Yep.
your brain so that when you do come to these situations, you can approach them differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to say it other than to be like more confident, but Yeah, just I think like you're saying, get out of your comfort zone. Like the more you do things that don't feel natural to you, I guess maybe,
Hmm.
the easier it will get over time.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell, like, I always share with people, when I was younger, I was really quiet. I was super self-conscious. I was so consumed with what others thought of me, and I kind of lived in that for a really long time, and I never ever would have believed that I'd be in like the profession and the career path that I'm in right now. But it came from like an active decision that I wanted to be more confident, that I had more to
Mhm.
offer, that I had a lot of valuable things to say, and that if I wanted people to know that, I had to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I started doing it, and like I said, it felt really uncomfortable at first, but then I started seeing that I was getting like a positive reception, and wow, I felt really good about myself after I did that. And slowly, 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 it got easier and easier, and now like my life is putting myself out there, right? But this is not at all who I am. Like, I wasn't born this way at all. And that goes back to growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Like, if I had a fixed mindset, I would believe that there's no way I could ever build confidence because that's not what was given to me. But when you have a growth mindset, you believe, no, I can step into this, I can learn this, I can, acquire these new beliefs and this new skill set. So I love that post, and I think it's so true. Like, you're not just given it, you have to work on it, you have to build it.
Mhm.
In this last conversation, I'm thinking about all of the times my bosses and managers have told me to be more confident, and that was the like job performance feedback was, we just want you to be more confident, and then
Mhm.
it would stop there. And I remember it got to the point where it was like such crushing feedback because I would never know what to do with that.
Mhm.
And it came from, yeah, getting out of my comfort zone, but also I think working on acceptance of like, oh yeah, I'm accepting that I'm not going to be good at this thing at the first try, or
Mhm.
like I'm going to care less what people think of me and care more about what I think of me.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
but the advice you give is just so much more tangible than all the other times I've had managers say like, just be more confident, because I think especially for women, we're kind of socialized to be all of these things, and none of them include confident, because when you're a
Mhm.
confident woman, you're bossy and hard to work with and all these things. But I like that we're kind of reclaiming this idea of like, yeah, we're just going to be accepting of who we are. We're going to be know what we're good at, know what our weaknesses are. And I think a lot of our readers struggle with that balance too in their early careers. And now a word from our sponsor. Under Minis is a sustainable, ethical, small batch underwear and loungewear brand. Each handmade piece is designed, cut, sewn, and packaged in-house in Santa Barbara, California. Under Minis is women-owned and operated, inclusive, and always offers the perfect balance of style, comfort, practicality, and sexiness. I have two bras, a tank top, and a scrunchie, and as soon as they come out of the wash each week, I'm wearing them. So shop Under Minis online at underminis.com and follow along on Instagram at Underminis for fun surprise guest appearances of Penny the dog.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure. And yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think that it's a narrative that so many women have, and for good reason. And it's like, it's the balance between being accepting of it, because that goes back to what we were saying before, like resistance. You don't want to resist feelings or thoughts that you have about yourself, because the more you resist, the more it persists. So there's
Mm-hmm.
the acceptance around it. Hey, like, I might not naturally be good at this. I might not naturally be confident. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. At the same time, just because I am this way doesn't mean that I have to stay this way. And let me find, tools and resources so that I can change this in a way that feels comfortable for me, and that, you know, is a way that feels supportive to me, as opposed to just being told, like, hey, go do this, go be more confident, you need to do that. Like, generally, when we're kind of just that's thrown at us, it doesn't really motivate us. So we need to figure out, like, what will motivate me to kind of move into this newer version of myself, whether it's having a vision around where I want to be in a year from now, or having like a really clear action plan and goals. Like, what will motivate you to do that, and knowing that it's then possible for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Eliana, this has been so great. I know people are going to want to continue to follow you and work with you. So where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram. It's just my name, Eliana Goldstein. I'm also very active on TikTok these days, which has been
Ooh. Oh, I
uh,
love to hear it.
yeah, I literally was like one of my like assistants that I work with was like, you need to get on TikTok. And I was like, I do? Like what? I thought I'm not Gen Z, but it's been a really, really fun platform and I put out a lot of content there. So I would say, connect with me on Instagram. I'm really active on DMs if you ever want to chat and learn more about ways that I can support you. And just follow me on TikTok for some, fun, digestible career content.
Well, I will be following you on TikTok. I love TikTok.
It's the best. It really is.
Um, okay, and we will link all of your links as well into the show notes. And thank you so much for joining us. Nicole, can you sing us out?
Yes, I can. This has been another episode of the Gen 20 podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We'd love if you leave a rating and a review, and you'll hear from us again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.